All right, good afternoon, everybody. So it is still Thursday, March 27th, and I am doing another video right after the video on rotation calibration because I had another idea for something as kind of a quick hitter video that I wanted to do for a while and had a moment to do it, so I wanted to do it. So we're going to talk about something that those of you who've used Thermo Fisher FEI/FEI microscopes are very familiar with, and I believe also on the Joule microscopes they have the same feature, although they name it differently. Okay, so right now we're in SA mode. When I switch from SA mode to diffraction, we see this message down here that says normalizing, please wait. Okay, so what does that mean? Okay, when the system does a normalization, what does that mean? So, to help illustrate this, it's a great resource for this is actually to go to the online help for your Thermo Fisher microscope and look up normalization. So let me go back to diffraction mode, and see it's running normalization again. And I'm going to go ahead and blank the beam here. We'll go to help, and we'll go to alphabetical index, excuse me. Let's see here. Okay, and we'll go to N, and we're going to find normalization. Okay, so normalization control panel. Okay, so here we go. So yes, this is what I wanted to see. Okay, so one of the properties of our lenses, right, because they're magnetic lenses, is they have this wonderful property called hysteresis, okay? So basically, as we're changing the current through the lens, as we go back and forth from one current setting to another current setting, we don't recover the exact same magnetic field as we go back to the same current we had previously, okay? So that's exactly what you see here in this diagram, right? Is depending on where we are in terms of increasing the current and then going back down, we have a hysteresis loop here, and our magnetic field between at the same current settings is not the same, okay? This is the result of hysteresis, okay? So what can we do to deal with this? Because this is not desirable, right? When we're going to a lens setting, we want it to basically, reproduce the exact same field that it's produced every other time, okay? And so this is where the normalizations come in, okay? So does it show this here? It doesn't show this, okay? So basically what it does here is it goes through a process. Does it show this here? I wanted to show this here. Okay, so here's what it does. It goes through a sequence, okay? A sequence completely up, then completely down, then up again, and then down to the required value, okay? So basically it goes through this hysteresis loop, sounds like almost twice, okay? So the normalization procedure, the lenses involved is or are, depending on what we're doing, taken through a sequence completely up, then completely down, then completely up again, and then down to the specified value, okay? So that's the normalization process. So the point of doing this is that the lenses have more reproducible settings, okay? And as a result, they give more reproducible magnification, camera lengths, diffraction, all this other stuff, okay? So that's the whole idea behind normalization. I believe on the modern Joule microscopes, they call this relaxation, although I have not used a newer Joule microscope in more than a decade, so please don't quote me on that, okay? But that's what normalizations or normalizing means, okay? Is it's a way to reproduce lens settings in your microscope, okay? So what normalizations are happening? So if you go, you can find actually your normalizations control panel here, and you can actually see for all of the different condition changes, right? Because this is where you have normalizations. they happen when you're changing some kind of setting on the microscope. Okay, so we can see here, let's go to a really common one. Right, so from TEM to STEM, that's a perfect example, okay? When you go from TEM to STEM, you're changing the condenser system, you're changing the projection system, right? So you can see what it's doing here is it's normalizing the condenser system, the projection system, as well as the objective lens, okay? If you're changing the camera length in TEM mode, you're just normalizing the projector. If you're switching the spot size in TEM, right now it's not doing anything. So actually what we could do with this, because that's affecting the condenser, is we could actually activate this. This would make sense to have it run normalization if you change spot size in STEM mode. I believe also in TEM, okay, so yeah, so it's doing the same thing. So when you switch from image to diffraction mode, running normalization for the projection system makes perfect sense as well. When you're switching from LM to SA, you're also changing basically everything here. So yeah, running full normalization of everything as well. If you're doing just a mag change, you could run the projector normalization here. This tends to be less of an issue though, but you could set this here. People tend to complain about this though, right? Because every time you do a mag change, you have to wait for it to run normalization, right? So there's a time penalty associated with doing this. If you change the spot size in TEM mode, right, you want to run a condenser normalization. So if you're switching between microprobe and nanoprobe, okay, this is running normalization for everything as well. There is also a way to manually tell the system to run a normalization, even though you're not actually changing the state of the microscope, okay? So let me go ahead and unblank the beam here. So you can see here down here, I have my L1 button set to normalize all, okay? So you can set one of your L123, R123 to do this, okay? So if you right click, you can see, right, you have a whole list here for normalizing, okay? So you can set this to normalize just the projection system, just the objective, just the condenser, okay? You know, only the C3 lens, right? You can do this. I have this set actually on normalize all, okay? So if we do this, right, I just push L1. Okay. Now I believe, let me see here, if I change, so if I change my C2 lens, I don't believe it's going to actually change the lens settings here. And if I change, let me change the objective here as well, just to see. Yeah, so it doesn't actually change any of the values if you do normalize all, okay? But if I push eccentric focus, it will put the objective. So I believe if you push eccentric focus, now actually let's take a look here at the normalizations. I think this is actually in here. TEM eccentric focus imaging. Yes, so, okay. So when you push eccentric focus in TEM mode, this is what it's doing. It's normalizing the projector as well as the objective, and it should also put the objective lens back to the eccentric focus value. So yeah, so that's exactly what it's doing. Of course, we already knew that, but now you actually know what it's doing here. And again, you could deselect projector, so it's only running normalization for objective. Okay, you do have the ability to do that in this normalizations panel. If we look at STEM, for instance, STEM eccentric focus, right? So same thing, right? If you push eccentric focus, when you're doing STEM, it's going to run normalization on everything based on what we have it set here to do, okay? Again, doing this for the projector, probably not as necessary. If you change the camera length in STEM mode, that's where you want to do that. So it all depends on what lens system is being affected when you do this, okay? But anyways, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a short kind of quick hitter video talking about normalizations and why they're important. So, have a little bit of appreciation the next time this is happening. I know it's a little bit of a pain to have to wait. Nobody likes to wait. As my father famously said, wait is a dirty four-letter word. But understand it's for your benefit, right? And for the benefit of the microscope to run normalization to help reproduce the lens settings. So hopefully you got something useful out of that. Okay, all right, take care, everybody.